Hi, I'm Gravy.
And I'm Noah with the Paranormal Investigators of Milwaukee.
And you're watching
Paranormal 101. This episode, we're talking about useless investigation tools.
And there are a lot of them.
The first thing we want to talk about is the fact that Pim does not use any of these useless investigation tools. Warning, we do not use any of these investigation tools. We do not use them at all. Glad we're clear. So, we have a few things we want to talk about tonight, and the first is this wonderful device.
The SB7, also known as the Spirit Box.
Or the Shack Hack, or Frank's Box. There's many, many terms for the same piece of garbage. What we have here is a device that runs through AM or FM radio frequencies at a fraction of a second. I think it's about a quarter of a second that it stays on each channel, and then quickly skips over them. Now, what we're going to give you real quick is an audio example of what you're listening to. Some people believe is they're able to pull out voices, ask questions, get intelligent responses from the audio that you're about to hear. As you can hear now, you're hearing the skipping across all of the different stations. And, a voice just came through. Was that my dead Uncle Tim? No, because he's not dead, he's alive. And so what you can see here is you can't really make anything out from these
I think I just heard butt.
jumbled noises, unless you're trying to figure out something and shoehorn in a response to a question you had.
So let's give an example.
What is your name?
Oh, I think I heard Joe.
I heard Phil.
Joe? I heard nothing. Oh, I hear a child
That was a disembodied
screaming.
scream. No, it was garbage.
Well, let me just show you how cheap this thing really is. Without this external speaker, there's this speaker, and it's playing right now.
If you listen really carefully,
Closer.
you could just barely hear it.
Oh man, that was painful.
So this is a piece of garbage, but it is often put on some paranormal investigation shows and used as, really high-end evidence. But in actuality, you're just wasting your time, because what's happening is basically the crowd mentality. You have a group of people around a circle listening to this garbledy-gook and trying to pull intelligent information out of it. If everyone asks a question such as, what is your name, which is a very common one, if you listen to this long enough, someone is going to hear something that it resembles a name of a person, or even a name of a place. And then they kind of go down the path of, I heard Ohio. Are you from Ohio? Do you know someone in Ohio? Until you get some other garbledy-gook response that could be considered an intelligent response. And you spend hours wasting your time listening to what is essentially just radio chatter that is being gone over very quickly, and you're trying to process with your brain an intelligent response. And it's an example of what we call audio pareidolia. We are going to have another episode on pareidolia later, so please, again, like, subscribe, and click that bell so you know when we have our new videos coming up, and we'll explain more of what that is. But in this instance, essentially making sense out of nonsense. You're listening to audio that doesn't make any sense to your brain, and your brain's trying to fit something that doesn't make sense into it. So you're listening for an intelligent response to a question. What is your name? So you're listening for anything that might be a name. If one person says they hear something, many other people will be able to fit that in. We see that all the time with electronic voice phenomena that we play. If we tell you what it says, you will almost undoubtedly hear that. But independently, you most likely won't come up with it. And so that's why these devices are just not useful for trying to find actual evidence or data surrounding something that's paranormal. You can never prove that anything that comes out of this device or anything like it is paranormal in nature, because it is man-made and it's using radio frequencies that are known to be out there to determine if something is paranormal or not. The second device that really wanted to talk about was the K2 meter. So the K2 meter is, again, very popular on the paranormal investigation shows. It was used a lot in the early shows and still continues through with some of the other shows that are still on TV now. It is a very cheaply made device. It consists of 5 lights and an EMF scale. It is a single axis EMF detector. And again, I'll just have to remind you, we'll have a video about EMF separately on that you can check out to understand the difference between the different types of EMF detectors. But it's unshielded, meaning that there's nothing to prevent any sort of EMF field from reaching its detector and basically setting it off. It can be set off by literally anything that provides an EMF signal, such as a cell phone, such as, a Wi-Fi modem that can also set off these devices.
Walkie-talkies.
CB radios, truck drivers. CB radios have miles that they can be detected by. These are all things that can set off a K2 meter. And why is this a problem? Because people use a K2 meter when it goes off. Some people refer to it as evidence of the paranormal. Look, something paranormal is going on. There's really no way to determine that. All that is telling you is that that detector is detecting an EMF field. You have no way of determining where that field came from or why it's there. And so if you can't determine that, how can you turn around and say this device is now communicating with me? People will put it out and use it as a way to ask yes and no questions. Light it up to red, light it up to green if it's yes, and yellow if it's no. It's simply a waste of time. All EMF detectors in general can detect electromagnetic fields. They can be generated by many things, and that is all. They are not ghost detectors. Next on the list would be SHODDY audio recorders. So in PIM, we use a very specific set of recorders that record in wave format. That is an uncompressed format, which ensures that we're getting the best quality audio that we can get on the investigations that we're doing. There are recorders that cost quite a bit less and can even record quite a bit longer than the Zoom H1 recorder. However, those recorders record in an inferior file format called MP3. This is a compressed file format, which removes some of the frequencies of the audio environment when it does its recording. This is why it can record for longer with less recording space. Now, the problem with this is when you're recording in an environment and you have multiple recorders going, hopefully, you're not there remembering every single second of that investigation. You're relying on that audio record to go back and remember what's going on. That's how you do your evidence review, or at least how you should. Now, the problem with using a compressed file format and removing some of those frequencies is it muddies up that audio recording. It makes it maybe more garbled, more audio pixelation, I like to call it. You kind of hear staticky environment, that's a staticky recording that's going on. And this makes it easier to come up with EVPs or other, anomalous recordings during an investigation because you don't have a clean audio environment to go back to. And oftentimes, people who use these types of recorders don't have many of them. They have maybe one or two. And so when you don't have a lot of things you can refer back to and try to correlate evidence between devices and try to determine where that anomalous sound was recorded, you end up with, well, I don't know what it is, it must be paranormal. First of all, you should never do that. But second of all, most of the time it's because your starting point of audio evidence was garbage in the first place. Garbage in, garbage out. And so you want to make sure that when you're doing those audio recorders, since audio evidence is number one type of evidence that's captured on investigations, you're starting with good quality audio. Otherwise, you're going to end up with wasting a lot of time listening to hours of evidence finding crap. So let's talk phone apps.
Oh, my favorite. Everybody has one of these devices, a phone.
Unfortunately. And you can download almost any type of ghost app you ever would want to find. Ghost Radar, Ghost Picture, Ghost Pod, Ghost Pick, Ghost Fart. They have everything out there, and it's pretty ridiculous because all these things can't detect ghosts. Because again, Gravy, what are ghosts?
I don't know.
Exactly. And so when you're using these devices, if you look at the fine print, it says for entertainment purposes only. I would strongly suggest that you heed that advice. They can be fun to walk around your house and say, oh, look, there's a ghost in the corner. Oh, look, there's a little EMF spike over here. But most of the time, the equipment you have in your phone is not going to be sensitive enough to use and detect any actual EMF fields anyways. And again, we don't know what ghosts are. So how can a Ghost Radar app tell you that a ghost is over there?
Actually, there's one right behind us.
Oh, crap. Hello. All right. So what's going on here is someone's just making some money off an app. Usually apps are free, but they get advertising on them, and they're able to sell it and make a little extra cash. It's fine to use for entertainment, but please, for the love of God, do not use them on an actual investigation. You're just going to look like a fool. All right, that's all we have for our episode here on useless investigation tools. I'd like to remind you to like this episode. Make sure to subscribe to our page and click that little bell so you get notified when we have new videos. If there's any suggestions of other useless equipment you might have, please leave them in the comments below.
I'm Gravy.
And I'm Noah with the Paranormal Investigators of Milwaukee.
And this has been another episode of Paranormal 101.